All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. Episode 100. What's up? Man, when I first started this podcast, I wasn't sure how long it would last, if anybody would listen to it, if anybody had interest. I am very, very proud to say that you guys have been great supporting the podcast and listening to, there are a few people that I know at least of one person that listens to every single episode. Shout out to Ken Schraper. He posts, he likes and comments on every single episode on YouTube. So I really, really appreciate his support. And if there are others that listen to every single one, I really, really appreciate it. The numbers look good. I'm not taking over the world. I'm not posting Mark Maron numbers or Joe Rogan numbers by any means. But for a small little podcast highlighting South Jersey musicians, we're doing all right. We're doing good. We've got a solid base of listeners that tune in and spread the word. And it's kind of weird whenever I go to some kind of music event where there's going to be other musicians, whether it's an original artist like showcase or if it's just some like bigger festival or something like that. At least one person that I don't know will recognize me from the podcast or says, "Hey, aren't you that podcast guy?" So that's pretty cool. So thank you for that. I don't have anything super duper special. I don't have like an incredible guest for this episode. I was trying to think of what I could do for episode 100. And really, I think it's really just kind of it's going to be a look back, a quick look back on all the other episodes that came before this one. Shout outs for everybody. This podcast is all about you guys, the guest. It's not about me, even though I do like to talk about myself, and I will promote some of my stuff on this platform every now and then. I appreciate you guys being patient with me. That's the thing we have to do in this day and age is promote. So I'm happy that I'm able to give other musicians a platform to promote what they've got going on, talk about their stories, give the casual listener an idea or some insight into who that musician is. So hopefully they get a little bit more emotionally invested in that musician and want to seek out their music or just listen to them on a more regular basis. I'm always more interested in songs from musicians that I know or have some kind of attachment to, whether it's an emotional attachment or a social attachment, being a friend or an acquaintance or something like that. I will seek out their music, their new music, faster, I guess, than if it's somebody totally random. Like if somebody says, "Hey, check this band out," or "Check out this," I may not rush to listen to it right away unless I already have an idea of who they are and kind of where they came from and all that stuff. So that's where this whole podcast came from. And you guys know that. Those of you who've listened before, you guys know that's the story. Couple things I want to say before we kind of go through the flashback, if you will, of all the episodes. And I'm sorry, I know I bombard social media a lot when I have stuff going on, so I appreciate your patience and thank you for putting up with me. But I guess the latest thing that's happening between now and April 30th, you can vote for me for the WMMR Side Stage Live Band Karaoke. They're having a contest. I entered it on a whim a couple of months ago and got an email a few days ago that I was in the running. So you have to go to WMMR.com and then look where it says vote for your favorite side stage singers. And then scroll all the way to the bottom past all the embedded videos of the entries. Feel free to watch them if you want, for sure. But if you've seen them or you know who you're going to vote for already, scroll all the way down to the bottom. You'll see a list of names. And when you click on that name, you're casting a vote for that person. So I would appreciate it if you would look for my name, Dave Cudrak, and click on it and vote for me. You can vote every day, once a day, through April 30th. So I think that's this Thursday, and hopefully I'll get this podcast out before then. But yeah, so that's that. About a month ago, I released a new single called Devil on My Shoulder. It is the first time that I've ever worked with anyone else in recording my music. I've always, that's a little bit of a lie. Sorry, Chuck. My song Firm Grip that was released about 3 years ago, it's an acoustic version. It's just me and a guitar. And I recorded that with Chuck M or Chuck Milbach, who is one of the episodes on this podcast. Went into his studio and he recorded it for me, and it sounds great. I love it. So thank you very much, Chuck. I wanted this time around, I wanted to do full band treatments for all of these upcoming recordings. I'm hoping I'm going to get about 8 in this year in 2026. So the first one came out a month or so ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, called Devil on My Shoulder. I've been working with Steven Butler from Smash Palace. He's local to my area, and he's worked with some previous artists that some of you know. Joe Lombardo is one of them. He actually kind of introduced me to Steve in a way. So shout out to Joe for that recommendation. I appreciate it. It's been going really great. The song Devil on My Shoulder turned out really, really, really great. It's, first time working with other people and first time in this capacity with a full band treatment. Devil on My Shoulder has drums by Mark Schreiber. We've got Steven Butler playing 12-string acoustic and electric guitar on it. I'm playing the regular old 6-string acoustic and singing, and then we've got Leanne doing harmonies on it. And I really, really enjoy the process with Steve. I'm not in a big rush, so we meet about once a month and we work on whatever we can get worked on in the time that we have. And it's affordable for me because I'm just taking my time. I'm not trying to rush into things and do a whole bunch of songs in a short period of time. I'm just taking my time, and hopefully we'll get 8 songs out of it this year, somewhere in that ballpark. And if some spill over to 2027, that's fine too. But yeah, I've learned a lot in general about just patience and the value of having patience. And when I first started this podcast, I was all about the numbers, looking at the numbers and, who's watching and who's listening and all that stuff. And, it can be frustrating when the numbers aren't going where you want them to go or where you kind of expect them to go. But at least at first. And then I had to just kind of tell myself, just be patient, do your thing, put out the best product that you can, and the listeners will come, right? So kind of like a Field of Dreams reference. If you build it, they will come. If you put out the best product and you're authentic and honest about it, eventually people will find you. Now, sure, I do my things to try to promote it. I just recently got stickers. Woohoo! Do I have one around here? So yeah, here's the sticker. It's called the music. It's just basically the cover art of the podcast made into a square 4-inch by 4-inch sticker. My plan really is just to hand this out to everyone that's been on the podcast and maybe a few random people here and there. They're a little bit pricey to make because they're not cheap pieces of crap. And, they're a quality stickers. So, yeah, that's going to be the extent of my swag for guests that are on the podcast. So I hope they stick it somewhere where people will see it. Anyway, so let's take a look back now, right? So episode number 1, I already knew, like, at the first spark of an idea of who was going to be my first guest, because I'm friends with this gentleman and I believe he is a phenomenal musician and songwriter. He's got a song out there called Picking Out a Casket, which is one of my favorite songs, literally of all time. Like, I could listen to that over and over again. The lyrics, everything, it hits home for me. So, yeah, Tim Murray from South Jersey, episode 1. We had a blast just kind of catching up. 'Cause again, we're friends, and, we met on the open mic scene. I originally met him at Core 3 Brewing Company in Clayton at an open mic. I invited him to the Harper's open mic, where I eventually met Leanne and a few other people. And yeah, we've just been friends ever since, and I really, really think he's phenomenal. The song that he does at the end, it's called Learning How to Lose. This is all off the top of my head, so I didn't write any of this down, so I may get some stuff wrong. But the song at the end of that episode is friggin' amazing. So I highly recommend you guys go check it out. Now, when we started, we were not video. It was just an audio podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you try to go back to episode 1, you can still listen to it on YouTube, but it's just a thumbnail during the whole episode. There's no video component to it. At the time I set up with the tools that I had. I used my MacBook and I used GarageBand to record it. And the audio on the conversation, well, the audio in the whole episode, it's not spectacular, but you can still just turn it up a little bit. You can still hear the conversation and everything. I'm eventually probably going to have Tim back on again. I think we're going to start having a few repeat guests because, it's been over a year. I started it October 12th. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. October 12th of 2024. So it's been about a year and a half, and I'm sure lots of the previous guests I've had probably have new things happening and going on. So we're going to have some of them back and just kind of catch up and see what they're doing. But anyway, episode 1, Tim Murray, go check it out. Episode 2 is another friend of mine, and a lot of you people know who he is. He's a big deal around the South Jersey area. He's been playing around this area for years. I think in the interview he says like 30 years or something like that. TJ Fry. He was a solo acoustic guy for a long time. He still is a solo acoustic guy. However, he does have the TJ Fry band project going on now. So he's episode 2. Great conversation. It was great catching up with him. I got the audio for the conversation better. It doesn't sound like it's in a room. It sounds like a legit recording. So I was very happy with that. Episode 3, Michael Songs. A lot of you guys know who Michael Songs is. Proficient songwriter. Prolific. That's what I was thinking. Prolific and proficient songwriter. I mean, during the interview, he said he's got somewhere around 1,000 original songs, which is crazy, but I believe it because I follow him on YouTube and he's posting new music all the time. So great songwriter. He was part of the, creation of the original artist circuit with Shay Arthur, whom we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, he was part of getting that started. I don't believe he's part of it now. I don't know the whole story, and it's none of my business, but I certainly wish Michael Songs all the best when it comes to whatever he's doing now. I do know that he's got a weekly YouTube live stream that he does every Sunday at 12 o'clock Eastern time, 12 o'clock noon Eastern time. So if you're available, go log on to YouTube and check it out. He's building a really nice community over there, so y'all should check it out. Episode 4, Jersey Calling. I love this band, and I'm not a huge punk rock guy, but they are so fun to watch. I had Josh and Victoria on, basically the two kind of main singers of the band, and yeah, a hilarious conversation, and we had lots and lots of laughs. Actually, I've got them on the calendar to come back. I think I think it's June, so they've got some stuff going on, and I just wanted to catch up with them. So it's my podcast. I can have whoever I want on it. But yeah, they're coming back in June, so I'm excited about that. Episode 5, Brian Westervelt. Amazing. Another punk rocker, right? Amazing, like, fun stories. He was in like a ska punk band back in the day and opened for some pretty big bands in like New York City. And he was basically just a kid. He was like a teenager. So we had a lot of fun talking, and he's got some great stuff. I think he has just come out with some new music recently. So make sure you check out Brian Westervelt's music on all platforms, and then check out that episode as well. Episode 5. Interesting side story real quick. His mom Uh, she is one of like the most supportive people in the community. And at one point, my older daughter was, making like sculptures. She started an Etsy account or an Etsy store to try to sell some of these like clay sculptures. And yeah, Brian's mom came through big and she ordered like a custom piece for herself, a little ring holder and stuff. And my daughter was so excited to make like a custom order and hand deliver it to her and all that stuff. So shout out to Teresa. I really appreciate it. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much. Episode 6, I mentioned him briefly. He helped me record the acoustic version of Firm Grip. That's been out for a couple of years. Chuck Milbach. He's got a super interesting story, growing up kind of in the whole church scene and religious family and all that stuff. I would definitely check out like his story. And dude's got a powerful voice. So if you ever get a chance to see Chuck M perform live, it's really great. The next one here is Jim Brennan, episode 7. Jim is a very talented musician, songwriter, singer, player, funny as hell. Every time we talk, we're always laughing. He comes up with the quickest like one-liners. It's kind of like a dry humor, you know what I mean? Like you're not 100% sure if he's serious, and all that stuff, but it's hilarious. So he's also one half of the Gyms, which we'll talk about soon. Episode 8 is Shay Arthur. Shay, a lot of you know Shay from the original artist circuit. I previously mentioned that him and Michael Songs helped to basically created that whole thing. It's over at Double Nickel once a month, Double Nickel Brewing Company in Pennsauken. And anytime that they have that show, the place is packed. And it's not just musicians watching other musicians. There are lots of spectators there as well. So it's really great to see like the appreciation of original music that Shay and Michael Songs and Chuck have all helped create with the original artist circuit. So big stuff there. Shay is also currently working, or actually I should say he's currently releasing an album single by single, I think. He worked with Joey DiTullio, which he's another previous guest that we'll talk about super quick. But yeah, Joey worked with Shay to, record this album. I think everything's recorded, as I understand it. And now he's just kind of doing this release tour around the South Jersey area. And he's releasing a new song. I think it's like every month or whatever. So I know he just had one called Wasting Time come out about a week or so ago. So make sure you guys check that out. Episode 8, Shay Arthur. Episode 9 was a friend of mine, or is a friend of mine. This guy, Will Purdy. I met Will working as a banquet server at Adelphia's in Deptford, New Jersey. He heard that I was a musician. During conversations, we found out that we were both musicians. He was much more of a serious musician at the time than I was. I was just playing as a hobby. But yeah, he lives in Florida, originally from Jersey, but currently lives in Florida. We had a great time catching up, and it was really just kind of like two friends shooting the shit and kind of reminiscing about, concerts and all that stuff. So, he's great. He's in like multiple projects, and too many to even keep track of. So listen to the episode, find out everything that he's doing, and go check him out. So, that's episode 9, Will Purdy. Episode 10 is another punk rocker, Mike Nafis. Dude is very good at writing songs based on current events. So, we're talking politics, we're just talking about world events. Reminds me a lot of like 90s thrash metal that I used to listen to. Not the style of music necessarily, but the subject matter, right? If you go back and listen to Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica, their subject matter was very current event type stuff, and yeah, I think Michael Nafis is in that same realm with writing incredible songs based on kind of current events. And he's not afraid to put his viewpoint out there, which is awesome. So kudos to Michael Nafis. Go check that out, episode 10. Episode 11 is the other half of the Gyms. So episode 11 is Whiskey Jim. He's got a super interesting story about him playing an open mic overseas while he was visiting family. And like I said, he's the other half of the Gyms, who are doing lots of stuff now. When I interviewed both of those guys back in the day, oh yeah, they were part of the Gyms, but it was kind of brand new. Now, over a year and a half later or so, those guys are kind of taking over the South Jersey scene. They're all over the place with their gigs, and their set list is amazing. It's not always the biggest hits. It's like the second biggest hit from whatever group or band or whatever. So then you're like, they'll play a song and you'll be like, oh shit, I totally forgot about that song. I love this song, So they are like South Jersey's mixtape. It's pretty awesome. So anyway, episode 11, Whiskey Jim. Episode 12, Anthony and Amber West. They both put out albums in well, I know Anthony's was in 2025. I think Amber's was 2025 as well. Sorry, Amber, if I got it wrong. I'm sorry, if it came out maybe in early 2026. But anyway, they both put out full albums. And I know Amber recorded hers at Studio 6 in Riverton, who some of you may know. And then also Anthony recorded his with Tony Mascara. I forget the name of his studio, sorry. But and one of these days I hope to get Tony on the podcast so we can talk all about his stuff. But both albums are great. Check it out. Anthony and Amber West, episode 12. Stephen Henry, episode 13, prolific songwriter as well. This guy is on a mission to release one song a week for the entire year, and he's doing it. He every time he comes to my open mic, he brings three brand new songs, and they're all great. And I've seen his writing and his music get better and better with every time he's at the open mic. So I know big things are coming for him. All he does is original music. He doesn't do cover music or gigs or anything like that. But yeah, learn all about him and his journey. Episode 13. Episode 14, Rich Bradley of 99 Seasons. I know a lot of you probably know who 99 Reasons. Did I say 99 Seasons? I meant 99 Reasons. Sorry, Rich. Anyway, Rich is the drummer of 99 Reasons, an incredible party band here in South Jersey. Rich also organizes this annual event called ATCO Battles Alzheimer's, where he raises funds for an Alzheimer's charity. And it's a big, basically music festival once a year here in South Jersey. So go check out episode 14 and make sure you Google ATCO Battles Alzheimer's, because there is an event coming up real soon. So go get your tickets for it. Go check it out and contribute any way you can. So Rich Bradley, episode 14. Episode 15 is Loose Ends. I love this band. They are kind of like a classic rock, I would say, cover band. Covering like the Doors and all that stuff. But they're also very much a party band. Every time they play, they fucking kill it, dude. They're bringing the house down every show. Super talented performers. I first met Aiden, the guitar player and singer at Little E's Tavern, where I host my open mic, and he's one of the best guitar players I think that I personally know. Dude can rip on anything, one of the best. So yeah, that was a fun conversation. So go check out Loose Ends, episode 15. Episode 16 is another episode of just me bullshitting with an old friend. So if you're into that sort of thing, check out episode 16 with Steve Karsh. I've known Steve ever since I was like a senior in high school or a junior in high school when I first met him. And I'm 53 now. So that, it's been over 40 years that I've known Steve. And sure, you fall in and out of each other's lives every now and then. but thankfully to Facebook and all that stuff, we're able to keep in touch, and he's a guitar player and songwriter and all that stuff. So I asked him if he wanted to be on it. He's a part of a band called Snap Infraction, and just about every year they put out an original Christmas song, among other music too. But I always look forward to their Christmas songs every year. They're always super fun. So check that out. Episode 17, Jimmy Uo, or AKA Jimmy from the Streets. Jimmy right now, I spoke with him last February 2025. And, he was just kind of getting started with like, trying to start his own like sound company, running sound for bands and all that stuff. And it looks like it's picked up. I see lots and lots of posts from Jimmy, providing sound and video and all that stuff, for bands and other musicians. He also hosts an open mic, at the Pine Hill Tavern. Yes, I believe it's the Pine Hill Tavern. That's relatively new, so you won't hear it in that episode 17, but he's got a super interesting story that would take way too long to go into right now, but I highly recommend that you go listen to episode 17. It's super, super interesting. Episode 18, Jeremy Mulatto and John Mars. They are currently part of a party band called As If, which they're great. They do lots and lots of fun music. Jeremy's also in a ton of different projects. It's too many to keep track of. John is a great, great guitar player and singer. And yeah, that was a super fun conversation going through all of their journey and inspirations and all that stuff. Jeremy does talk. We have a little bit of an emotional moment when we talk about him losing his dad during COVID. So, yeah, be ready for that if you go back to listen to episode 18. Episode 19 is Chris Kelly. Chris Kelly is a great, great guitar player and musician and singer from the South Jersey area. He's part of a number of different projects as well. He's got lots and lots of stuff going on. Part of the Reseda band. He's part of the band No Time for Structure. We had a very kind of like rapid fire conversation, but we had a blast. And I really dig kind of like he's posting videos of him just kind of like ripping on guitar, which I'm very, very much enjoying right now. So go check out episode 19. Episode 20 is Jason Ager. I know a lot of you guys know Jason Ager from this new writers round thing that he's doing at the Pine Tavern Distillery called Spinning Yarn. And yeah, I know there's only been like 2 shows, I think, because it's once a month, but it seems to be getting a lot of attention. So I am positive that this writers round event called Spinning Yarn is going to really, really grow into something that people are going to be constantly looking forward to. So shout out to Jason for that. He's also got, excuse my armpit there. He's also got a ton of music out there, and it's all super, super high quality, like recording and all that stuff. He works with a number of different producers, and like, it's amazing how good some of his stuff sounds and how great the songwriting is and all that stuff. So go check out Jason's stuff. He's great. Mike Estabrook is episode 21. He was hosting basically an open mic at Broken Goblet in Bensalem. He's from South Jersey. I think he just recently moved. So he's no longer in the area, but he's an awesome, awesome dude. Mike Estabrook's episode is the first time that I did a remote podcast. I got some different software at the time, and I was able to do a remote podcast, and there's the first time it's got a video component to it. So you can actually see our conversation, which, there were a little bit of bugs here and there, but I was able to kind of work them out as the episodes went along. So he's the first video one. So go check that out. The next episode, Billy Ray and the Bad Boys, episode 22. That is not video. I can't remember why they went out of order, but episode 22 is Billy Ray and the Bad Boys. It was recorded it's recorded in the same place that I record 99.9% of the other episodes, but it was recorded in a loft, and he brought his entire band, and his entire band brought like their significant others pretty much. So up in this little loft where I record it, we had 9 people or something like that. So we were all kind of crammed in there like sardines. Billy's backstory is pretty amazing. I highly recommend you guys go listen to this episode. He spent a lot of time locked up, and had lots of time to kind of think and write songs, and that's basically what he did. So he's had a long journey to get where he is, and I'm super proud of him for making it through and getting where he is. So it's interesting to say the least. So episode 22, go check it out. Seriously, it's good stuff. Episode 23, amazing guitar player, blues guitar player named Dimitris Loizos. He is actually in London. So it was my first international episode, which I thought was kind of cool. We did it remotely, obviously. I was still kind of working out the software, so it might be a little bit glitchy here and there, but great conversation. Super nice guy. Lots of great information about like guitar playing itself, and then also kind of like what the music scene over in London is like, right? So yes, I know the Music Scene podcast focuses primarily on South Jersey, but we're not the only music scene. So I do occasionally try to get people from other places and just kind of talk about their music scene. Is it a cover scene? Is it an original music scene? What's it like? So I thought it was very interesting talking to somebody who was across the Atlantic Ocean and can give me a little bit of insight on what that scene looked like. Episode 23 is my first Nashville guest. His name's Kyle Austin, another remote podcast. He was in Nashville at the time. And I saw him at the Valentine on Broadway first time. And he's great. Got the cowboy hat and the beard and long hair and all that stuff. He looks like a cowboy, and he is a cowboy. Super deep voice and just an amazing songwriter and musician and a nice guy to boot. So that was really enjoyable, kind of talking about that whole Nashville scene, cover music versus original music and all that stuff. So go check out episode 24, please. Episode 25, Nikki Spafoni, huge musician here in the South Jersey area, like plays gigs almost every day, year round. Like her schedule is packed, and it's an inspiration to me as primarily a cover artist myself. I remember when I first started, I would like look at her schedule and this other guy, Joe Grasso. I would look at their schedules and be like, "Oh man, look at all the different places they're playing. Where are they playing? Okay, playing here, and here. I'm going to reach out to those places and see if I can get a gig there, right?" And that's how I ended up getting a lot of my gigs in the beginning, is just massively emailing everybody. I would look for places from other musicians' calendars and say, well, let me reach out to that place. Let me reach out to that place. And eventually, after basically carpet bombing all of South Jersey with emails and messages on Facebook and Instagram, eventually places started emailing me back, and I was able to get some gigs. And once it started, it just kind of snowballed. So lots of good information from Nikki on that whole thing and how to get into that scene. So episode 25 for Nikki. Episode 26, Gus Amador. He's got some great stories from back in the day, and making the move from New York down to South Jersey and all that stuff. We get a couple of songs from him. Well, we get songs from everybody just about at the end of every episode. But yeah, he's got a couple of great songs at the end. And yeah, he's a staple here in the South Jersey open mic scene. So go check out episode 26. Episode 27 is Andrew Moore, another heavy hitter here in South Jersey, incredibly talented young man. He does lots and lots of private events. So we did talk a little bit about that and kind of how to get those and all that stuff, and talked a lot about songwriting. And I think if I remember correctly in the episode, he says he's always been a full-time musician. Like right after leaving high school, I think he's just been in music the whole time. So that's pretty impressive. He's been doing it for a while and he's fantastic at it. So go check out Andrew Moore's episode at episode 27. Episode 28 is Carly Zimmerman, right? Carly, another Nashville person. I saw her. She was, I forget what month it was, but she was the winner of the Bluebird Cafe's Golden Pick contest. Every month, the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville holds a contest where you can submit a video of yourself singing an original song, and then they'll pick a winner every month. And she won one month. I forget what month it was, but it was a song called Quarterback, which was awesome. It's got one of these Nashville twists in it. And it's a great song. So I asked her to be on the podcast. She was on it. I'm not sure if she knew that it was going to be video, because she made a comment on like YouTube or something after it was posted. But she's great. So much fun to talk with. She was like kind of living all over the world and stuff, and ended up in Nashville to basically pursue her career, her music career. So she is an active working songwriter in Nashville, and she's living the dream. So kudos to Carly. Go check out episode 28. Episode 29 is George Becker. A lot of you know George. He is a country guy now. He used to be kind of like a rocker, but then he found country music, I guess, and fell in love with it, and now he is a CMA country music artist. Writes a lot of original music, has a lot of listeners and streams on Spotify. Occasionally does these little tours and stuff up and down New Jersey and beyond. And yeah, he's a great guy to talk to. We did a benefit last May called the Country Strong Concert for Our Veterans up at Artie's up Frenchtown, New Jersey. And yeah, he put on a great event, raising lots of money for a good cause. And shout out to George for fighting the good fight. So episode 29. Episode 30 is a guitarist by the name of Aaron Shreve. Some folks might know him on Instagram. He's what I would call an Instagram guitarist. The way I got Aaron on the show, or the way I discovered him really, is I'm a huge fan of John Mayer, and I was reaching out to John Mayer's former guitar teacher at Berkeley. His name is Tomo Fujita, and I was conversing with Tomo, messaging back and forth with Tomo and trying to get him on my podcast, and he wasn't quite ready to do it. So I asked him if he had any recommendations of people I can reach out to, and Aaron was one of them. And I reached out to Aaron, and Aaron agreed to it, and we had a great conversation. He was in LA at the time, and I was so jealous because here it was in March in New Jersey, and it's cold and rainy and just nasty outside, and he's in like LA or something, sitting outside, just enjoying the weather, and you can hear the birds chirping in the background and stuff. So I was super jealous while we were talking, but great conversation, great player. I know I see his posts all the time where he's doing all kinds of incredible stuff out in California. So shout out to Aaron. I hope you're doing well, brother. Episode 31, Ian Bamberger, guitar player up in New York area. He was a guy I followed on Instagram purely because of his playing. I love all the looping stuff that he does, and I think he's got a great voice and does some great songwriting. I believe his father was a musician as well. But yeah, me and him, it was just like, catching up with an old friend. We had a great time talking and chatting all about music and stuff. And he is incredible looper. So if you're interested in kind of learning about looping, or somebody who's talking about it, check out episode 31. Episode 32 is a musician named Jason Price, who goes by the screen name Squad Car 37 on Instagram, and I think is all of his other socials as well. He actually jammed with Steve Vai at like one of Steve Vai's guitar camps or something back in the day. I first connected with Jason because I had posted like a riff. Back in the day, I used to just post guitar riffs on Instagram, and I posted a riff, and he took it and added like a guitar solo to it and drums and all, like added a whole track to it. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And I was like flattered that something that it was an original riff. So something that I came up with could sound like that. So if you go back in time on my Instagram, or actually I think I pasted it in the middle of this episode. So if you go check out episode 32 with Jason Price, aka Squad Car 37, you'll be able to see what Jason had done with my original riff, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So lots of great stuff. He's a funny guy and loves to do really creative stuff on his socials. So go check it out. Episode 33. Our local rock star, if you will, right? Peter Scavello, right? Dude is on fire with all of his original music and the stuff he's putting out there. We talk all about, what he's doing as far as releases. Now, at the time, it was March of 2025. He had just come out with like his first EP and his first handful of videos. That EP, I think, included songs like "Can't Stay" and "Crazy" and maybe cut. I think he performs "Cut the Throat," but I can't remember if "Cut the Throat" is on the first EP. That EP is titled "Repent." Anyway, we talk all about working with Sean Danielson from Smile Empty Soul to help him record and basically produce his albums, and that's I think that's who we worked with for the second album as well. So go check out Pete's episode 33. Episode 34 is a gentleman by the name of Ben Jaffe. If you're a fan of the band Honey Honey, then you will know who Ben Jaffe is. Incredible, like, artist. And when I say artist, I mean music. Like, dude, so creative. Great songwriter. We did talk a little bit about his experience with Honey Honey and what it was like working with Suzanne Santo, if you know that name. And we slightly touched on kind of what happened with that band and why they broke up. They were huge. I mean, they were, opening for, major acts and touring the world and touring the US and all that stuff. And then it just dissolved, right? So we don't get into personal stuff, but we do touch on it a little bit. He is currently the guitar player and kind of band leader, I guess, for Casey Musgraves. So he's doing big stuff right now. It's funny. I do follow Casey Musgraves on Instagram, and occasionally she'll be posting stuff, and in the background I'll see Ben. I'll be, there's Ben. So yeah, I enjoy seeing Ben in the background there on Casey Musgraves posts. Also, when I released my song Devil on My Shoulder, I sent it to Ben. And I was like, he might not even recognize me from being on the podcast or whatever, because it was like a year ago. But I sent him my song and asked him if he could just critique it, because he's doing it, right? He's living the dream. He's So I wanted to get some feedback from someone at his level, and he really took the time. I think he said he listened to it like 2 times and really kind of, did a little bit of a deep dive on what he thought about my song. And it was great. It was so helpful feedback. I mean, he basically said he really liked it, said it was a nice song. He did say about my lyrics, full disclosure, I'm an open book. He did say about like the lyric and the title, Devil on My Shoulder. I'm not going to be able to say it as eloquently as he did, but he did say that the whole devil on my shoulder, quote unquote, felt maybe a little cliche, like it's been done before. When he's writing, he always tries to kind of maybe tweak the words to give it like a little extra oomph. Like, and the way I interpreted that is he wouldn't have used the phrase "devil on my shoulder." He would have come up with something different that would convey the same message, but maybe push it a little bit higher. And I'm certainly not insulted by that. Like, I am very happy and excited that he took the time to listen to it and analyze it and give me actual feedback. So shout out to Ben. I look forward to speaking with you in the future if you're happen to listen to this. So anyway, episode 35 is a band from, I guess, kind of the King of Prussia area in Pennsylvania. They're called Crossbucks. and they're super fun. They're super fun. They do a lot of, they originally started just doing songs about like trains. All they would do is sing songs about trains. And I think it's evolved into some other stuff, but they've been in various contests and have won or finished very high on the list. And they're a great group of folks. It was the first time I ever traveled to a location. Not traveled. I drove an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to their house. And, the whole band was there, and it was interesting learning experience for me, trying to get cameras in the right position and all that stuff. And then we went downstairs into the basement where they performed live, and it was my first time recording like a whole live band. So I've got 2 different cameras on the members and all that stuff. So I'm grateful for the experience. It was a fun conversation. One of the more watched episodes too. So they must have a big fan base up around where they are, because that video and that video on YouTube has gotten quite a few watches or views, and in their episodes for the audio versions on Apple Music, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, have all gotten quite a few listens. So yeah, they're great and always supportive of everything that we're doing here. So shout out. Episode 36 is an English guitar player named Sam French. It's funny. Sam's probably like half my age, right? Or maybe, right around there somewhere. I'm 53. I think he's in his mid-20s. And maybe a couple years older. I don't know. But Sam is an incredible guitar player. He was also recommended by Tomo Fujita as someone I should reach out to. But it was weird how much we had in common. Like, we both had very much the same taste in music. We both, for lack of a better word, idolized John Mayer. and of course, like David Gilmour and all that stuff, right? We have very much the same influences, musical taste, things like that. Similar, like, forearm tattoos. I know that's weird, but it was just kind of like all of these things that we were talking about in the episode. It was like, oh yeah, I love that too, or I do that too. It was really kind of bizarre, right? But he's a great guy, so much fun. It was another kind of episode of just talking about music with a close friend, even though I had basically just met him on that episode. So fun conversation. Go check that out. Episode 37 is Adam Reese. Adam Reese is the man, right? He's gigging all over the place. He's a solo acoustic singer, songwriter. He does some cover stuff. He's in South Jersey. He also makes soap. When he came over for the podcast, he brought me 2 bars of soap that he made himself, and they were awesome. They were so great. They smelled great. They did the whole exfoliating thing, right? It was really kind of cool. I don't buy soap like that on a regular basis. But then he brought me a couple pairs or a couple bars of soap, and I was like, yeah, well, sure, I'm going to use them. I'm not going to like throw them away or whatever. They were awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. So, and I know he spends a lot of time like at like the craft fairs and stuff, like, trying to sell his soap and everything. Part of the fun of this podcast is learning about other musicians and also seeing what makes them tick or what other interests they might have. So always a good time talking to these different musicians and everything. So go check out episode 37. Episode 38 is Amy Elizabeth. Amy with the pink hair. Amy is kind of one of the main organizers of Tuckerton Porch Fest, which is actually happening right around the corner. I think it's this week, I think. Or next week. But yeah, we talked all about Tuckerton Porch Fest. We talked all about her music journey. Elephant Talk Music Festival. She's part of that as well. And yeah, it was a fun conversation. And it was great catching up with her again later on in a more recent episode, talking all about Tuckerton Porch Fest. And then I saw her at Elephant Talk down in Atlantic City, and it was like meeting an old friend, even though we've only met in person like 2 times, so she's great. Episode 39 is my first Grammy winner. I had a Grammy winner I had a couple, but Randy here is my first one. Randy Kohrs, Kohrs, is a Grammy winner. He won best recording of or best engineering for a bluegrass album. And he owns a place called Slack Key Studios in Nashville. He's also like an animal rescue guy. In fact, we were running late, or he was running late for getting on the call with me, because one of the neighborhood kids knocked on his door and said that there was a pit bull kind of running around the neighborhood. So he helped her like catch him and all this stuff. And then I guess they called whoever they had to call. But, he's very big into like animal rescue and all that stuff, and great guy. And, you know, his work in recording and producing and all, it's impeccable. And he's also a hell of a musician. I mean, he picked up the guitar when he was 7. He recorded with Dolly Parton. I mean, he's done some amazing stuff. That episode for some reason hasn't gotten a whole lot of views, and it's a shame because I think people are missing out on a lot of great information. So go check out episode 39. I think you'll learn something. Episode 40, the Gab Cinque Band. I know if you're in the South Jersey area or Philadelphia area, you know who that band is. High energy party band. They do both covers and original music. Gabby was on The Voice, I think, or was going to be on The Voice. I can't remember. I apologize. But go listen to the episode, get the whole story. And it was great talking to them. They play some massive stages. They are a big band here in the South Jersey area. So go check them out. Let's see. The next episode is Pedro Cordero. He's another Instagram guitarist. Episode 41. I love his playing. His playing is so like soulful, and when you watch him play, you can tell that he feels every single note that he plays, and he's just incredible player. He goes by the handle Pedro Makes Music. He's based in LA. He's performed on cruise ships and was originally from Brazil. It's just a great episode. And he's so nice. Like I told him one day, I was like, yeah, if I ever make it out to California, I'll look you up. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, come on out. We'll drive around and get some food. And like, for such a simple statement, coming from him, it sounded so like honest and like, yeah, that like, I want to do that. I want to drive around LA with Pedro and just get some food. I don't care what kind of food it is, but I want to get it. All right, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, you'll notice I'm wearing a different outfit. This video is taking a little bit longer than I thought to record. Lots of episodes, and apparently I like to ramble. So, so it's day 2 of recording episode 100. So we left off at Pedro Cordero, episode 41. The next episode is episode 42, country artist by the name of Dolan. He's really starting to make waves. He was on my show, let's say May of 2025, so almost a year ago. And ever since then, not that I have anything to do with it, but ever since then, he's been doing great. He won the American Songwriter Contest. He's in Nashville quite frequently, playing shows and releasing music, recording, all that stuff. He's originally from Texas. I think he goes back and forth. The highlight of that episode for me was when he sang his adoption song. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of it, but just search Dolan in Apple Music or Spotify. And one of his songs is it's about adoption. I think it might be called the Adoption Song. It's heart-wrenching in a good way. It's all about how him and his wife had adopted 4 kids, and I believe they're all siblings. And it's you should listen to the episode for the story and then look up his music for that particular song. He also has a song, and this is the one that won the American Songwriting Contest, called Some Hearts Get All the Breaks. And that song, it's amazing. It's just guitar and vocals, and it's so powerful. So go check it out. All right, episode 43, Dom Levy of Fat Mez. Dom is hilarious. I know a lot of you listening know who Dom is and know who Fat Mez are. Dom is also the son of stand-up comedian, the Reverend Bob Levy from Howard Stern fame. But yeah, Dom and I had a great conversation. He's hilarious. We talked all about Fat Mez and how they do all their recording in Memphis and all that stuff. And when he came over for the interview, that's where I met his girlfriend Hannah Rose, who she's got an episode in here too. So we'll get to that shortly. But that one was probably one of the most downloaded episodes yet. Fat Mez has such a large following, and they've got a whole group dedicated on Facebook that's got a lot of members. So definitely making waves. Right after Dom, we have episode 44, Scotty Stevens. Scotty, as you know, is the guitar player and lead singer of Cooper Stomp. He is also the drummer for Texas Legs. And yeah, his whole story about overcoming addiction and all that stuff is fascinating. So I highly recommend you guys listen to that. And yeah, he talks a lot about the whole Pittman music scene and everything. So that's a fun one for sure. And it may be a little bit triggering to some people talking about about addiction and all the things that he went through. So just a heads up on that one. But that's episode 44. Episode 45 is one of my favorites. I mean, they're all kind of my favorites. It's like asking me which kid do I love the most? I love them all. But this one, episode 45, is with Chris Voss from the record company. The record company is a pretty big deal. They had a hit song called Life to Fix and another hit song called Off the Ground. They are currently on tour, national tour. Chris is the lead singer and guitar player. Such a nice guy. I feel like we got to kind of know each other while we were talking, and we, their band opened up for John Mayer, and as a lot of you guys know, I am a huge John Mayer fan, so we talked all about that. And one of the benefits of having a podcast and occasionally getting to talk to rock stars is I when the record company was in town not too long ago, maybe 2 months ago, I got tickets to go to the show. Like I bought tickets myself, and then I texted Chris and I said, "Hey, when you're in town in Philly, maybe there's a way we can, meet up or something and just say hi face to face." And he's so nice and so accommodating. He sent me the contact information for their tour manager, and I reached out to him, and we were able to go backstage at the concert right before they went on. It was while the opening act was on. Leanne and I were able to go backstage and meet him and the band, and they signed our vinyls and all that stuff. So super nice. Took a picture with us. That's on my Facebook somewhere. But it was so great to actually be like backstage for real. It wasn't like a meet and greet that you pay for. This was a legit, like, Leanne and I and the band and some crew members were the only ones backstage. Like it was pretty awesome. That was over at Union Transfer in Philly. So kudos to Chris for being such an accommodating guy and super nice. And I occasionally reach out to him for stuff, to give me feedback on songs and stuff, and he's always willing to reply. So he's awesome, and I highly recommend you guys go follow the record company. Episode 46 is I don't know if I would say it's my first Prodigy, but I think he probably is the first Prodigy I've had on my show. His name is Eric Steckel. He is a guitar wizard. He went on tour with John Mayall at the age of 12. He's originally from Allentown, PA, so up kind of Poconos area, so he's somewhat local. And he's a blues, like rock, or a blues hard rock guitar player, and sings and all that stuff too. He's not just a guitar player. Songs are great. He's got a signature guitar. He's got signature amps. Like he's the real deal when it comes to shredding on guitar. And the dude is just a master of the instrument. So great conversation there. For all you guitar geeks out there, that one's for you, episode 46. Episode 47 is a friend of mine, Kenny KP Walker Jr. A lot of you know him from his poetry open mics. It was the first time I ever had like a poet on the show. And the podcast is called The Music Scene. So he does incorporate some music in his poetry, and he hosts a lot of open mics in the South Jersey area where musicians are welcome as well as poets and all that stuff. So Yeah, I met Kenny back at one of his open mics at Celia's, and yeah, we've been like Facebook, Instagram friends ever since. And I've seen him a few times in person, and he's just an overall great guy. Knows a lot of history about kind of where he comes from and the town he lives in and all that stuff. And it was really, really interesting to have something a little bit different on the show, in that he's primarily a poet. And then he's incorporating some like bass guitar and stuff like that with his works. So that's a fun one. Go check that one out. Episode 48 was my first um, guest from India. His name is Jean-Eric, and he's in India. We had some issues, some technical issues, because we were on opposite sides of the planet. But it all worked out. We got the full episode in. He's trained in classical guitar. He's got huge influences, a huge range of influences from Biggie Smalls to Ed Sheeran. He's had some new music come out recently. Super cool kid. So make sure you go check him out. We talk a little bit about what the music scene is in India, and it's pretty interesting. So go check that one out. Episode 49 is Joe Lombardo. Those of you in the South Jersey area definitely know who Joe is. Super nice guy. He's the one that kind of sort of introduced me to Stephen Butler, who's helping me record my new music now. Joe has worked with Stephen on his EPs. He released one last year, and I think he's got a new one coming out sometime very soon. So check out that episode. That's a fun one. Episode 50, Jason Pugliese. So Jason's dad is a friend of mine. We've known each other for years and years and years. And I remember when Jason was born, right? I remember him crawling around on the floor and picking him up as a baby and stuff. So it was kind of bizarre to have Jason as a grown up on the podcast. He's out there doing his thing, putting together solo gigs, and I think he's with a band or two, or at least he was. He educated me a little bit about the Doors, which is hysterical because he's half my age, and he knew more about the Doors than I did. So that's a fun episode as well. The next one, episode 51, is a guitar player in LA, singer-songwriter, guitar player. His name is Austin Thomason, and he's just got a natural gift for songwriting. He's a young dude playing live gigs all over the place. Sometimes he guest spots on big stages, and then he's kind of playing the regular shows similar to what I do here in New Jersey. He's doing it out in California. So that was a fun conversation to really get an understanding of what that LA scene looks like from small stages to big stages. Episode 52 is Radio Revolution. I know a lot of you guys know who Radio Revolution is. And I spoke with them. They are a huge party cover band here in South Jersey. They do a lot of gigs down the shore, Summers Point, all that stuff. They also sometimes go out as an acoustic duo. Jen Iacona is the lead singer there, and she's always very supportive, especially like in the wintertime when the shore scene kind of dries up. You'll see Jen at my open mic, and she's got a great voice and great stage presence and all that stuff. So that was a fun conversation. Episode 53, I guess you could say, is another kind of prodigy, definitely a guitar wizard. At this point, this guy was probably my most quote unquote famous guest. His name is Andy Wood. If you're a guitar player, you know who Andy Wood is. He's played with the Rascal Flatts and all that stuff, and he hosts an annual thing called the Woodshed. It's like basically a guitar clinic. At the time, he offered us a $200 coupon code and all that stuff for the episode, and it was great to talk to him to get some real insight on what it's like to play these massive like arenas and all that stuff, and really kind of what some of the key things are when it comes to becoming like world famous, right? Or world renowned. I mean, every guitar player in the world knows who Andy Wood is. He's a wizard on the guitar. And I know I've said wizard quite a few times, and I apologize, but it's the truth. He's amazing. Episode 54 is Grammy winner Drea Young from Philly. She's also known as Dabubu, and she has a company called Music Is Our Hero. I found out about Drea, or I first met her at an open mic in Philly at the Fire. I was invited there to be a guest speaker. That open mic, they would have like a guest speaker who's kind of doing stuff in the industry, talk to the audience and take questions and all that stuff. So that was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. So that was super cool, and I really, really enjoyed it. And met some really great people there, and Drea was one of them, and she ran sound. She hosted the open mic, but she's a Grammy winner. She has done recording and engineering work and all that stuff on some pretty big named people. So I don't want to spill the beans on that episode, so make sure you guys go listen to that stuff. Episode 54, she drops some pretty big names, and it's fun to listen to. Episode 55, Amy Sklar. Amy is now currently part of Banter, which consists of Leanne Tersey and Kara Ferguson, and now Amy Sklar. She also does her solo thing, and she was previously in a band before. She's currently recording, or has recorded, with Studio 6 in Riverton, so I suspect that she's going to have some original music coming out real soon as I record this. But she's a very talented singer-songwriter here in South Jersey. And yeah, great conversation. She's a close friend of Leanne Tersey, who's my girlfriend. So I know a lot about Amy. I met her a long time ago. Fun conversation as well. Episode 56, AJ Mee, MEE. AJ is a walking jukebox when it comes to guitar playing. He knows every song ever on guitar. So if you're a singer and you find yourself in an open mic and you want somebody to play guitar for you and AJ's there, chances are he knows whatever song you're going to play. He's got his own band out there. And he's part of 99 Reasons, or he fills in quite a bit for 99 Reasons when he has to. And he's just amazing and an all around nice guy. Great guy. He just built like a fabulous studio at his home there, so I'm very, very jealous of it. But yeah, go check out that episode 56. The next episode we went was Wasted Potential. That's episode 57. They're a young punk hardcore rock band. When I say young, I mean like not even able to order a beer at the bars that they play in. But they're awesome. They're great. They all met at School of Rock in Cherry Hill. They're a fun group of kids to talk to, and lots of talent there. So definitely go check that one out. Episode 58, Ty Mars. Or I think it's pronounced Madres or something like that. Sorry, my Spanish is awful, but yeah, he's Ty Mars, great guitar player. He's part of the Cosmic Jerry Band, which is a Grateful Dead tribute band. He's also an avid student and fan of John Mayer, like I am. So we even joked he kind of looks a little bit like John Mayer, and he plays John Mayer gear. Like he's got the Martin John Mayer acoustic guitar. He's got the PRS Silver Sky electric guitar, all that stuff. Great performer, and guitar player and singer. Like he's the total package. He brings it whenever he plays. So great conversation. And the songs at the end of that episode are fantastic as well. Episode 59 is another Nashville singer-songwriter, Sam Gyllenhaal. I met Sam when Leanne and I were on vacation one time down in Nashville. He played at a place called Jane's Hideaway, which unfortunately I don't think is in business anymore. But he was playing kind of like some group bluegrassy stuff, had a mandolin player on stage that just tore it up. And yeah, I met Sam there and reached out to him about being on the podcast. He said he would love to. So we had a great conversation. Again, talking a lot about the Nashville scene and kind of like the non-touristy part of Nashville, you know, what it's like to actually live there and be a local. So that's a fun one. Episode 60, we've got, you know, as mentioned before, I interviewed Dom. Dom's girlfriend is Hannah Rose. So episode 60 has Hannah Rose on it. She's a music therapist, which was really, really cool to learn about because I'd never I never really knew what it was. I mean, sure, you can piece it together by what the title is, but I didn't really know what they do. So it was cool to learn all about that. And even though she didn't really, she doesn't have like a large catalog of original music, she was like, yeah, I got one song to play. So her and Dom played her song at the end, and it was like amazing. It's like the only song she's written, or at least at the time. But it was great. It was awesome. She's got a great singing voice, and then hearing Dom play lead guitar on it and stuff while she sang and strummed, it was perfect. It was awesome. Episode 61, another Nashville artist. His name is Andrew Leahy. He's part of like a Traveling Wilburys tribute band. He's a big Tom Petty fan. And when I say like tribute band, I mean it's like an annual thing that they have. I think it's called the Tom Petty Ball or something like that. I could be wrong, but it's an annual like music festival, all kind of dedicated to Tom Petty. And it, he's played or shared stages with Mike Campbell from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and Willie Nelson. He's currently the guitar player and band leader for country star Elizabeth Cook. So he's a super big deal in the Nashville scene and a great guy, and incredible story of survival. And he had an incident there where he needed brain surgery. And I've never talked to anybody who's had brain surgery, so I was super interested in everything he had to say. So make sure you check out that episode. All right, episode 62. We've got the band Red, R-E-D. They're South Jersey-based band. They just had a new album come out. They have a standing Monday night gig at the Golden Nugget Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, which, you know, there's not a whole lot of music on Monday nights, but it's awesome that they've got this like standing gig there. And if you ever find yourself on a Monday night needing something to do, they're great. They've got all kinds of like fascinating, like their music is fascinating. Their stories are fascinating. I highly recommend you go check them out. Episode 63 is Red Desert Motel. I think a lot of you know who Red Desert Motel is. Tim from the record store On the Record in Woodbury, New Jersey. He is the bass player. And then Tony's retired military. Tony is like the singer and guitar player. I mean, Tim sings as well. But yeah, Red Desert Motel, they're all over the South Jersey scene. I think they also kind of have something to do with the acoustic Sundays that happen in Woodbury. So anything happening in Woodbury, I'm sure that Tim has something to do with. So go check out that episode. It's a good one. Episode 64, Alberto Sensi. The first time I'd ever interviewed anybody in Italy, which was really, really cool. Alberto's a singer-songwriter. It was funny. We recorded a whole episode, and after the recording, I sent him kind of the footage, and he was sitting in front of a window and he was backlit, so it looked a little bit weird. And I asked him, did you want to do it again? Because it does look a little bit strange. It wasn't great. So we ended up re-recording the episode, and he put himself in like a better setting and all that stuff where the lighting was proper in it. And I'm glad we redid it. It turned out the second time around turned out even better than the first one, because he knew a little bit more what to expect and what kind of questions I was going to ask. He's just got new music coming out. So that's, and again, we talk a little bit about what the music scene is like in Italy. Some of these conversations are very eye-opening, when it comes to what the various music scenes look like all around either the country or the world. So very cool. Episode 65 is Michelina Petty. I met Michelina at the original artist circuit that I played. I forget when that was. That was back in probably like June-ish or May. No, I think it was April of 2025 was when I played, and she was on the same bill. Her and her dad co-write music. She came out with a full album last year. Her dad is part of her band along with her brother. And her music's great. Her voice is great. Their whole stage presence and everything, and the way that Michelina and her dad kind of feed off of each other. It's super cool. So she she is very, very passionate about how she feels and the way she lives her life. So we got a little bit philosophical, right, when it comes to kind of like living. Not that there's a right or wrong way to do it, you know, by all means go your own way, but the moral of the story when talking with Michelina was just do it. Like, what are you waiting for? Right? You're not getting any younger. Just start, right? But we talk about it a little bit more eloquently in the actual episodes, so go check it out. Let's see. So episode 67 was a little bit of a divergence from kind of my regular guests, right? Most of my guests were or have been musicians who are out there gigging or recording or doing whatever. My guest on episode 67 was radio DJ Gary Wolfman Wolf. He's a friend of mine from Instagram. I've never met him in person. He lives in California. I'm in New Jersey, but we've been communicating on Instagram for years. He even played one of my acoustic covers on his radio show. I did a cover of No Rest for the Wicked from Cage the Elephant, and he played it on his show, which was awesome. But yeah, super fun guy. Definitely lives kind of like by his own rules. He's a little bit of a biker dude and a rocker, and you know, he's got like cool custom guitars and custom guitar straps and all that stuff. He's got a lot of cool connections. We talked all about the radio show and everything. So, and we had a lot of laughs doing it. So, it was a fun conversation. Right. Episode 68 is Ben Selko. A lot of you know who Ben is. Ben is, a really, really smart and intelligent musician. I feel like he kind of gets life, at least more than I do. I think he's got a little bit of an understanding of kind of like, you know, the psychology around life in general. He's been through his fair share of trauma, and he's got an album coming out that is kind of based on all of that. And he's a funny guy, and he's not afraid to say what's on his mind, especially when it comes to tipping musicians at gigs. So yeah, we had lots and lots of laughs in that conversation. And again, his album that he mentions in this episode that was recorded last year is just now coming out. So it's you know, he's taking his time and making sure that it's done right. So yeah, looking forward to hearing that album, and you guys should definitely go check out episode 68. All right, episode 69 is another local singer-songwriter musician from the Philly and South Jersey area. His name's Todd Bailey. I met him at an open mic at Broken Goblet that Mike Esterbrook was hosting. And yeah, Todd's an interesting dude. He's got this whole country thing going on. Got lots of production in his recordings, tons and tons of songs. Like if you go onto his Apple Music or Spotify, you'll see he's put out an album every 6 months for like the last 6 years or longer. So yeah, very, very cool, nice guy. We had a great conversation, and I encourage you guys to check that one out. Episode 70 is another singer-songwriter from South Jersey, goes by the name of Dags. He talks a lot about the emotional struggles that he's had in the past, and his music reflects that. So, you know, another little bit of a trigger warning there if you're, you know, a little bit sensitive to some of those deep and dark subject matter, if you know what I mean. Then yeah, maybe you want to skip that one, but it's just a heads up. We don't get super graphic. It's nothing to worry about, but he does get, you know, a little bit personal with, you know, kind of, you know, what led him to the inspiration that's in a lot of his music, and how music basically saved his life. So, definitely check that one out. It's meaningful. Episode 71 is Paul Gliato. Great guitar player and singer here in the South Jersey area. He does like a fingerstyle acoustic blues type stuff. I know I've seen him you know, fill in at different guest spots on Instagram and Facebook. A whole lot of classic blues influences like Muddy Waters, Lightning Hopkins, Albert King. He loves to play like jam band type stuff like Hot Tuna and Grateful Dead, and a super super nice guy. And just an incredible player. Like when you see him finger pick on that acoustic guitar, it's like, what? Like, what is he doing? But it's amazing. It sounds great. Highly recommend. All right, everybody. Y'all know John Fay. He's episode 72. John is basically a living legend in the Philadelphia area. He was first part of the Caulfields. They had a big hit called Devil's Diary. Toured the world on that song and album. He was also part of a band called Ike and John and Brittany, and then he does solo stuff, and he kind of dabbles in everything related to music here in the South Jersey or Philadelphia area. I think he also does like recording and stuff like that as well. He wrote a book called The Yin and Yang of It All. I think I got the title right. And he's working with Joey DiTullio on like live performances / readings of that book where John will play excerpts, or John will read excerpts of the book while Joey is like playing music in the background, and it's this whole kind of artsy thing that they're doing. And from what I've never seen it, but from what I've heard is that it's awesome. So I would like to check it out one of these days if my schedule ever allows it. But that's a fun episode, that John Fay episode 72. Episode 73 is Max and Melissa Baruza. I like to consider them South Jersey icons. I mean, Max was hosting the open mic at Harper's Pub in Clementon. That was kind of my home base after I started. Once I played my very first open mic in Philly at Fergie's Pub, I would hit Harper's Open Pub on a regular basis, like every other Wednesday when I didn't have my kids. I'd go there. That's where I met Leanne. And Max and Melissa are part of an original band called Venture Out. They're also part of a cover band called what's it called? Hot Butter, and I forget what it's called. Something about French toast. My bad. But anyway, you can find them on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, and you can hear about it in the episode. But yeah, they're husband and wife. I remember when they got married and all that stuff. So like, it's kind of cool to see how, life happens to all of our musician friends and everything that they're doing and all the different versions and all that stuff. So let's see. Episode 74 is another little bit of a deviation from what I normally do. The guest is named Bob Cardia. He owns South Jersey golf schools. And you might think, well, what does golf and music have to do with anything? There's a lot of the same kind of mental discipline, I think, when it comes to golf and music, whether it's learning an instrument or songwriting or whatever like that. You need some form of like kind of mental discipline to keep going and to get it right. So we talk all about kind of the relationship between golf and music. Bob is also a musician. But yeah, he makes his living as a golf pro. We also talk a lot about motivation and how you can kind of like, maybe overcome some of the times where you're not motivated, and how you push through, and how important motivation is to really kind of succeed in either golf or music and anything else in life. So that was a fun one. Bob, ever since then, Bob and I have remained in touch. He asked me if I would join him for his very first live show coming up in July. So more information on that to come, but it'll be me and him on stage. He's going to do some originals. I'll do some of my originals, and then we'll play a bunch of covers together. But it'll be his very first show, his very first time playing live in front of people. So I'm honored to be part of it. It's going to be a blast. Episode 75, Alex and Justina from the Alex Lucera Band. They are a band out in Santa Cruz, California. I met them when I played a gig at Maker's Alley in Wilmington, Delaware. I pulled up to the place, And all of a sudden, like as I'm walking in, I see a band on stage, and I'm like, "What's going on? I thought I was supposed to be playing." So anyway, so I spoke to like the manager, and he was like, "Hey, these guys played at the Queen last night, and they wanted to get another gig in before heading back out on the road. They were currently like on tour, like on their own self-funded tour, and they gave him an impromptu show at the place where I was playing. So they played for like basically the first hour of my set, and then I played, instead of 3 hours, I played for 2 hours. But it was super great to like meet them and the band, and Alex and Justina are like super cool and some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. We have since kept in touch, and you know, if I ever make it out to Santa Cruz, like maybe we can get on gigs together or something like that. So and they also have a new album coming out called Heavy and Unkind, and that's coming out very, very soon. By the time you listen to this, it might be out. If not, check for it in like a week. 76, episode 76, Eric Bauberger. He's a musician, a life coach, certified strength and conditioning specialist. He uses music and mental health in just about everything he does. Um, Passionate about mental health and physical and emotional well-being, and incorporating music where it's appropriate. So it was interesting to kind of see how music relates to those aspects of his life, and how music helps him connect with people and his clients and all that stuff. So yeah, a lot of talk around mental health and physical health and all that stuff. So if you're into that sort of thing, I think you'll love that episode. Episode 77 was a treat for me. Jeremy Lister. Jeremy is a Nashville singer-songwriter. He's a vocalist. He's an artist. He owns a company called Blister Hot Sauce with his brothers, hence Lister and Brothers Blister Hot Sauce. It's the greatest hot sauce of all time. It's the only hot sauce I will buy for the rest of my life. And I'm not a huge hot sauce guy, so take that with a grain of salt, but I love his hot sauce. It's amazing. He's got 3 different kinds. Whatever. Go to Google Blister hot sauce, order a pack or order a bottle. You'll know what I'm talking about. If you're in the Nashville area, go to a store and buy it. It's awesome. Anyway, his biggest project right now, and I hope he's not offended by me saying it's his biggest project, but in my opinion, his biggest project right now is he's the backup singer for Post Malone. He's been touring with him for like the last year, and he's touring with him currently now, and in probably all of or most of 2026. He's going to be at Barefoot Country Festival this summer in Wildwood, New Jersey. Hopefully I can sync up with him on that day. But at one point after after I interviewed him, Leanne and I went down to Nashville, and we met him face to face, had coffee with him, and we went across the street to where his studio is, and he showed us the studio, and I played him a couple songs that I was writing, and he really kind of, he said he enjoyed them, and he gave me a little bit of feedback and all that stuff. So super helpful guy, knows what he's doing. His wife is also an artist. She's kind of like a performing artist or something. Performance art. That's what I meant to say. And she's got a show, I think, that's happening now in Nashville. So I want to try to get her on the show soon. I haven't yet, but I'm going to be reaching out to her, and hopefully we can get her on the show to talk about it. So Jeremy Lister, episode 77. Episode 78 is a singer-songwriter from South Jersey. His name is Russ Knight. Leanne and I came across him. We went to go grab a drink at the Chicken and Egg in Marlton, New Jersey, and he happened to be playing that night. And we were both just kind of like, wow, like he's really good. So he was between sets when we decided to head out. So we walked over, said hi. Seemed like a very cool guy. He's a teacher. I think he's a middle school or high school teacher, and he does that. And then he gigs on the weekends and whenever his free time is. So it was really kind of cool to see somebody kind of doing the similar thing that I am, putting out music, original music, and doing the cover gigs and all that stuff. And we shared lots of stories and experiences, and he's great. His music is great. Voice is great. Guitar playing's great. All that stuff. So go check that one out. Episode 79 is Texas Legs. I know a lot of you know Texas Legs, South Jersey, Pittman area. They have deep roots in the whole South Jersey music scene. Um, each member of the band is working like multiple music projects all over South Jersey. They're working on a new full album. I assume it's going to come out sometime soon, but we talk all about it on episode 79. So, yeah, definitely check that one out. Episode 80 is Cam Naramanian. I met him outside of Philly in Kennett Square. I had entered a songwriting contest, and when I went to go, participate in this contest, he was one of the contestants. And I thought he was great. He plays piano, he plays guitar, he sings, he does a little bit of looping. Like, he's a multi-instrumentalist. And his style is pretty much like his own. It's kind of hard to, pinpoint what his style's like, because he's classically trained. He was trained in classical music, and he also likes kind of like today's pop music and all that stuff. So it's really kind of interesting to see how he combines all those genres and makes it all his own. So fun conversation with Cam, and super nice guy as well. Um, Episode 81. I know there's a typo in there, but it's called the Gyms, from deep cuts to mixtapes. This is, previously I interviewed Jim Brennan and Whiskey Jim individually. This time they are our first returning guests, really. And I interviewed them together as the Gyms. They are the self-proclaimed human mixtapes. They do, not just some of the hits, but they also do some of the deeper cuts where, like I said earlier, you may hear them play a song and be like, oh shit, I totally forgot about that song. I love this song, and they're starting to kind of blow up around the whole South Jersey scene. So getting more gigs and just getting out there more. And it's great to see. So, check out those guys. Episode 82 is Jim. I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong again. I think it's Jim Weibel or Wibble. I think it's Weibel, from Shot of Southern. So Jim is the lead singer of a country cover band called Shot of Southern, and they are massive. Their calendar, I think they play like 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week in the summer. He's got a house down the shore because him and his band spend so much time down the shore in the summertime. But they're literally all over the place, all over New Jersey, all over Delaware, Pennsylvania, occasionally in Maryland, I think. But like they're huge, and they really kind of leaned into the fact that there are a ton of country music fans in South Jersey and down the shore. I can't even say they are blowing up, because I feel like they've already blown up. I mean, they're massive. Go check out Shot of Southern and check out what their calendar looks like, and you'll know what I mean. Episode 83, we have it's really the original artist circuit, or the OAC episode, talking all about the OAC. The guests on that show are Shay Arthur and Michael Songs. That was published back in December of 2025. So we're looking 6 months ago. And, they made quite a few announcements as far as, Double Nickel doing some special things around the OAC. Double Nickel has really leaned into that event, which I think is awesome. South Jersey does need more of an original music scene. And, every time I go to one of these OAC events, there's a ton of people there. And like I said before, it's not just musicians. It's also people who just really like listening to good music, whether they know the songs or not. So it's really cool to see how that's going. And they were celebrating their 1-year anniversary of putting on the OAC. So they did like a whole music festival. It was like a 12 or 13-hour event of, almost every single musician that played the OAC. Go check it out for like some interesting stories and all that stuff. Episode 84 is Stephen Butler of Smash Palace. I mentioned Steve before because after I had this interview with him, I feel like we really connected, and I enjoyed talking to him. And with all the praise that Joe Lombardo told me about him, or gave me about Steve, I figured, why not ask him if he wanted to work together to record some of my new songs. So we talk all about his Smash Palace days. We talk about his Quincy days, and the touring, and the unfortunate death of one of their band members and all that stuff. So It's an interesting conversation. So go check that one out. And again, kudos to Steve Butler for helping me out with my music. All right, episode 85 is Fred Mall from Grass Feds. Grass Feds is kind of like a bluegrassy type South Jersey band with some rock mixed in there. Fred is also a solo acoustic cover musician, similar to what I do. I saw him at Ott's Green Top right down the road from where I live, and I thought he was a great, sounded great. Sounded like an interesting dude. So I gave him my business card and I was like, hey, let's get you on the podcast. We could talk about all about what you're doing and stuff. And he was like, yeah, sure. So he came over one day. He's a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. He's a great guitar player as well. So check that out. Episode 86, Nashville songwriter Marla Cannon Goodman. She might be up there as kind of one of my quote unquote biggest guests so far. You may not know her name, but she is a big deal in the Nashville songwriting scene. She wrote songs for Leanne Womack. If you know that song, The Fool from Leanne Womack, Marla wrote that song. And I think she's still living off of it. But anyway, she wrote a song called 10 Rounds with Jose Cuervo for Tracy Birds, Rodney Atkins' song Cleaning This Gun. And she's got a billion song credits. It's weird. Like you look up like even like Willie Nelson, Blake Shelton, like major country names. You look up some of their songs and you view the credits in Apple Music, you'll see Marla's name all over it. It's crazy. And not only that, like she talks a little bit about her dad. Her dad is the producer for Kenny Chesney and also has, she gives me a little bit of his backstory. I'd love to have him on the show. I haven't been able to secure that yet. But yeah, he's an interesting guy. She talks a little bit about him and all that stuff. So I met her when I was at the Bluebird Cafe and I had front row seats. And when she was done playing, I basically tapped her on the shoulder, asked her if she wanted to do it. She said, yeah. So very sweet woman. Episode 87 is the Koosmans. They're like an acoustic punk band here in South Jersey. I met them at the original artist circuit that I was attending one time just as a spectator. And I thought they were super interesting. And had them on the show, and it was interesting to hear about like that genre and what the scene looks like for that genre. Again, I mentioned before I'm not a huge punk guy, but it was interesting to kind of hear all the different places that they played it back in the past and all the different bands and all that stuff. So it was a good episode. I enjoyed talking to them, and I feel like I learned something about that whole genre. Episode 88 is one of my mentors, Joe Grasso. When I first started doing solo acoustic gigs, I remember coming across Joe's profile on Facebook and I was like, holy crap, this dude plays out a lot. So I started looking at his calendar and seeing if I could spot some bars that I might be able to reach out to. And then I went to his open mic that he hosted at Death of a Fox Brewing Company, now hosted by Chuck M. But when Joe was the host, I would go there and I'd start picking his brain. I'd be like, hey man, I'm sorry to, I don't want to put you on the spot, but how do you do this? And how do you do that? I want to do what you're doing. So how do you do some of this stuff? And he was always kind enough to answer all my questions. I would message him on Facebook with random stupid questions and he was always willing to help and gave me some great advice and all that stuff. So I attribute a lot of my, success in the local scene here to Joe, and I am very grateful for him imparting his wisdom whenever I asked for it. So thank you so much, Joe. And that's it. This is a great episode. We talk about a lot of stuff. If you're interested in doing what we do, the solo acoustic cover act, or maybe even a band, like a cover band stuff, go listen to that episode. You'll learn something. I guarantee you. You'll be like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So go check it out. Highly recommend. Episode 89, Steve D of the Steve D Band and Crickets and Cicadas. So Steve is part of Crickets and Cicadas. They are another Grateful Dead tribute band, hugely popular here in South Jersey. They play a lot of music fests around here. And Steve himself is a great musician, solo guy, putting out lots of recordings. He hosts 2 different open mics, so we talk a little bit about that stuff. Wide range of musical tastes. So again, it's another one of these conversations about, man, you've got such a wide range of tastes and influences. Like, how do you combine all that stuff? And he does it in a great way. So go check it out. Episode 90 is Chris Ricco. Chris is a gigging solo acoustic musician, very much like myself. He's in southeastern Pennsylvania, primarily cover musician, but he's doing something cool. Like, I think it's next month or June. He's starting in June. He is basically going to a cabin in the woods to sequester himself, I think, for like a whole week, and he's just going to write music. And I am so jealous of that. It's something that I kind of want to do or have been wanting to do at some point. Not that I'm ever going to really plan it, because I do spend quite enough time here by myself at my own place, but there's just something about the idea of just removing yourself from society for like a week just so you can focus on your art sounds so appealing to me. So we talk all about that. He plays a couple of songs. It's a great conversation. So check it out. All right. So episode 91 was super, super special for me. I briefly mentioned him earlier, but Tomo Fujita. If you're a fan of John Mayer and if you're a guitar player, you probably know who Tomo is. As I mentioned before, I wanted to get Tomo on my show for a long time. It probably took me a year to finally convince him to do it. And every now and then I'd email him random episodes and, hey, check this one out. Let me know what you think, blah, blah, blah. And he was always like, oh, great job. Great. Keep going, keep going, keep going. At first, he didn't really want to do the show because I don't think, I think we were small, right? We only had a handful of episodes and he didn't recognize any of the names on the episodes. So I think he was just kind of like, this might be something that's not going to live past 5 or 10 episodes. So why would I want to do it? And that's fair, right? Like, he's a busy man. He's a guitar professor at Berkeley College of Music. He's got claim to fame, right? I mean, John Mayer, for God's sakes, was one of his students, and he's still in touch with John Mayer. Like, they're friends now. So we did talk a little bit about kind of like what that whole experience was like, because I can't get enough of John Mayer stories. So yeah, when he finally agreed to do it, I was practically beside myself. I was very, very, very grateful. He even sent me a copy of his book, a digital copy of his book called Guitar Wisdom, which I highly recommend. You can get it as an ebook. It's got video links in it as well. So it's kind of like a massive guitar lesson, but it also talks, I'd say 80% of it is guitar philosophy. And then the other 20% is like guitar lesson or education, but it's fantastic. So go get that wherever you get your ebooks. It's a great one. And the conversation was so much fun. I mean, I was smiling from ear to ear the whole time. Episode 92, Matt Williams, aka the Williams Boy. He's making a big splash here. And, you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, maybe Matt has been kind of a bigger deal this whole time in South Jersey and we just never crossed paths, him and I. But we recently crossed paths, earlier this year, 2026. And I really, really dig everything he's doing. He's a great guy, super nice, level-headed, like gets it. He's one of these guys that just gets it. And when I say gets it, I mean life, music, like everything. He just gets it. And a lot of that comes from kind of his childhood upbringing and some of the challenges he's had back then. So we talk all about it during his interview. He gives us a performance of a great couple of songs. He talks all about what it was like to be like a working songwriter and musician. At one point, he was signed to like a song one of these Nashville songwriting contracts. He also worked with a record label before to film a video. There's something in the middle of the episode that's super, super funny, if I do say so myself. So I'm not going to give it away, but because you should all go watch it. I recommend you watching that one on YouTube if you can, but it's hilarious. Let's see. Episode 93 is a friend of mine named Connor Choi. I met him at my open mic. He started coming to my open mics maybe 6 months to a year ago. He's not like a super regular. He doesn't come every 2 weeks, but he'll show up once a month or so or whatever. And he is another one of these phenomenal guitar players. He's right up there in the running with Aiden as being like maybe one of the best guitar players that I personally know. He's got very much of a Dave Matthews Jam band experimental vibe to him. When he's playing solo, he does a lot of looping and stuff, and he's in all kinds of different wonky tunings and stuff. But it all sounds very like trippy, and a little bit psychedelic, a little bit 90s, a little bit Dave Matthews, a little bit of whoever. But it's all fantastic. I dig all of it. So go check out episode 93. Staying on the psychedelic type side of the conversation, we got episode 94, Jonathan the Human. A lot of you know him as Jonathan Sellers. He's a singer-songwriter in the South Jersey area. He's part of many different projects. Too many to name. I mean, we talk about them all in the episode, so go check it out. And he's also a super like sweet guy. Like he's really nice. I can't picture him being mean to anybody or acting like a jerk like ever. So I really liked sitting down with Jonathan and I first met him at Harper's open mic way back in the day. And then, we remained acquaintances on Facebook. But yeah, it was nice reconnecting with him for sure. Episode 95 is the Garden Roads. Garden Roads is a South Jersey band. It's really kind of the brainchild of Tim McCarney. I hope I'm saying that right. He was collaborating with this guy, Evan McIntyre, and they basically wrote and recorded like a whole album. Tim is out there kind of like, I guess you could say, touring that album. When I say touring, I mean all over like the South Jersey area. He's got a band with him to help play those songs that were recorded. And and also one of the members is a parent of one of the kids in Wasted Potential. So it was a really kind of cool full circle moment there for sure. We get a couple of great songs from them at the end. So definitely check that one out. Episode 96, we get Amy Elizabeth back because she wanted to talk about Porch Fest, Tuckerton Porch Fest, which is actually happening May 2nd. So this Saturday, May 2nd, Tuckerton Porch Fest. Go check it out if you're free and available. But yeah, it was really just kind of a promotional episode to really kind of get the word out on Tuckerton Porch Fest. It's a pretty big deal and it's growing every year. So if you don't get a chance to play there, then definitely go as a spectator because I think you'll dig it. Episode 97 is Kevin Tran. Kevin is currently has kind of like a big role in the OAC as far as like videographer, and then also he's the bass player for the house band for the OAC. He's also a singer-songwriter here in South Jersey doing his own thing as far as original music. And then also he's got like a new cover band that I cannot remember the name of off the top of my head, so apologies, but go listen to episode 97 to get all the details. But yeah, he's super into fitness and talked about what it was like growing up with, kind of overbearing parents who had like a very high expectation for him and what it was like to kind of deviate from that. So definitely interesting conversation for sure. Episode 98, Joey DiTullio. Joey's a guy I wanted to get on the podcast for a long time, but we couldn't make schedules work out for whatever reason. We're both busy. So finally was able to get him on the show. Singer-songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, recording engineer. He's been doing music full time since he was like 14 years old. Super interesting story about how in like 7th grade, he first came to his parents and said that he wanted to quit school and pursue music full time. And, as a parent myself, I would be like, you're crazy, right? But like, kudos to his parents. I mean, I think they did it the right way and they eventually gave him permission, not in 7th grade, but listen to the story. It's super interesting. And then you can also hear about all the great things that Joey's doing. He's also currently, I think he recorded, I think the recording's done. He recorded all of the music for Shay Arthur and his album that's coming out this year. And then the last one here, episode 99, Iron and Oak. Many of you probably know Sean and Maureen Corcoran as part of the Indigo Squirrels, or then they were just called the Squirrels. They're originally from South Jersey. I met them previously in South Jersey at the Red, White, and Brew open mic, and then I think Sean one time was at my gig at the Haddon Heights Farmers Market. Well, now they've relocated down to Nashville, and they are living the dream as Nashville singers-songwriters, musicians. They're currently in the studio at Dark Horse, recording music with an EP coming out shortly. They don't have a release date for it yet, but I know it's coming sometime soon, sometime this year. But yeah, it was great catching up with them and kind of hearing what it's like, what the Nashville scene is like from their perspective. So yeah, that's all of them, ladies and gentlemen. Episodes 1 through 99. I know this is probably a much longer episode than anybody anticipated. And if you made it to the end, you're the best. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode helps just kind of, it's a look back on everybody that I've talked to and whatever quirky little stories or experiences come out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. I thank you so much for your support, listening to the podcast, watching the podcast, spreading the word about the podcast. Whenever I post something, I can always rely on at least a handful of you sharing those posts and trying to get the word out. So I really, really appreciate it. Please do that if you can. And yeah, one more friendly reminder, voting for me on the MMRBQ ends this Thursday, April 30th. So assuming this episode comes out before then, please go to WMMR.com and click on where it says vote for your favorite side stage singers. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and look for my name, Dave Cudrak. Click on it and vote for me. Thank you very much. All right, guys, that's it. I will see you for episode 101 coming in just a few days. Thank you very much and have a good day.